In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look here at that major polar vortex event that we do expect to happen later on this month into December, where things are going to get extremely crazy with the very cold temperatures and snowfall opportunities. We do see a couple of major cooldowns towards the end of our model runs today that we're going to dive into, as well as potential for a major snowstorm over the central and eastern United States, maybe even a couple of them. So we're going to discuss all of these things today. Let's just dive into things, and first things first, we're taking a look at the current conditions, where we do have three stormy regions, two major systems and one minor one. We'll start out here in the southwest, where we do have a storm system coming on shore, and in Southern California here, we do see some heavier precipitation. This is leading towards some flash flood discussions here, popping up all over the place. And we got to remember, these typically dry regions, when they're dealing with heavy rainfall all of a sudden, that can lead towards a lot of flooding issues. If you take really dry dirt and you try to add water to it, the dirt does not accept that water right away, right? It takes some time, and that is what we're seeing take place here in Southern California as a low is coming on shore. Very, very heavy rainfall. Definitely a big flooding concern down there. As we navigate up towards the northern Rockies, more like the northern plains actually, eastern Montana into the Dakotas here, we have mixed precipitation showers ongoing, both snow and rainfall occurring up there. Due to this, it's not the most major in the world, but definitely some snowfall is coming down. And then as we move towards the northeastern corner of the nation, as well as some of the eastern areas of Canada here, we could see a low is just to the north there. I'll switch this to white so we can see a little better, but just to the north of the UP of Michigan here. And we have some rainfall showers happening here, mostly for the Great Lakes and parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast in the United States. And then a lot of snowfall occurring due to this in eastern Canada, down into areas like the Adirondack Mountains of New York, and even into the Green Mountains and Berkshires of Vermont and Massachusetts. And I'll zoom in to take a look at this. We have some snow showers again over the Adirondacks. This is really, really light snowfall. The heavier stuff is mostly up here for Ottawa and northward into areas that, you know, not a lot of people live in. This is more rural Canada, but we have really heavy snowfall up here for areas a little further north, closer to the Hudson Bay. Now we're going to move on from this, talk about what's upcoming, dive into kind of the model guidance, where again we have major cold air and major snow systems popping up on the models today. And as we take a look at how the past 15 days have gone, so the entirety of November so far, we can see we're getting a picture kind of painted here with warmer conditions mostly over the western and some of the central states here, with some cooler conditions mostly reserved for areas east of the Mississippi River, I would call it. And we see a lot of like Ohio, the southeast here, Appalachian Mountain Range, and then up into the northeast, mostly cooler than normal due to that major cool down that we just got through. Looking at the total precipitation, I guess that's a little bit of a jump there, isn't it? Let's take a look first off at the storms that are upcoming. We have to load this in. I don't know why I wasn't prepared today, guys. And as we take a look at this, we can see basically what we just looked at, because this is for today. We'll move towards tomorrow. We do see that overnight, this is at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we do see a little bit more snowfall going on here for the northeast corner of the nation. As this low kind of transfers offshore, very close to the coastline of Maine there, we could see some snow showers ongoing overnight and into tomorrow morning. Also taking place tomorrow morning, we can see the southwest, that area of rainfall really, really expands throughout these areas, and we end up seeing some Sierra Nevada snowfall as well happening, so some really heavy snowfall for those mountain ranges. And as we head towards Monday, we could see a couple of things still taking place. We have overall a ridge over the west and that trough over the east. It's mostly taking place today, tomorrow on Sunday, and into Monday, before we'll see things switch up a little bit, which we'll get to in a moment. We do still see some general low pressure all over the place out west. So this is causing, again, Cascade and Sierra Nevada snowfall, also Rocky Mountain snowfall, and a lot of rainfall for surrounding areas. Now, as we keep going with this, towards Tuesday morning, we do get some heavier showery activity here for Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and this could be in the form of thunderstorms as well. We'll be on the lookout for that. Still, these western mountain ranges are dealing with snowfall as of Tuesday morning, and as we kind of reach into the afternoon, that just expands and gets a little bit worse. I want to take us straight towards Wednesday here on the 19th, where we do end up seeing a lot of this precipitation more so over the Rockies as opposed to the West Coast by this point. We also see some thunderstorms and showers sparking up for the deep south into the lower Midwest and even Ohio Valley area there for Wednesday on the 19th. Looking towards Thursday here, I'm really concerned about this. On the 20th, we end up getting a low here just to the east of the Rockies in New Mexico and Colorado. We end up getting this really, really bad looking thunderstorm area for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And again, this is on Thursday, the 20th. This could be a pretty big severe weather risk. So we're watching for this midweek next week. That is going to be a really dynamic system because we have this low here, obviously a cold front underneath, this warm front out ahead. So we're getting this surging, really, really humid and warm air, which is really sufficient for thunderstorm development in these areas. But we also have that low rushing in, bringing in the cooler, drier air. Obviously, you mix cold and warm, you get a lot of instability. We're going to be watching for that happening here. Still some western mountainous snowfall occurring. Let's take this a step further towards Friday, where we do see this low transfer up to the Great Lakes. We still have this kind of cold front look. We can see thunderstorms still taking place probably in the deep south up into the Ohio Valley area. Obviously, this time of year, the further south you go, the more likely this is going to be a thunderstorm and severe weather threat. Some Rocky Mountain and Plains snowfall occurring on the back end of that thing. Looking towards the weekend, Saturday here on the 22nd, we do have a relatively flat jet stream, not waving too much, sitting over the northern United States. And that's exactly what we expect to change in a big way. Right around this time frame, it's kind of interesting, it's perfect timing, but right around this time frame, we've been showing this for the past few days, but the Arctic region is about to see some really, really sudden warming in the very high levels of the atmosphere, and that is going to cause the polar vortex to kind of spread around and split up, and that's what can cause these major troughs, major Arctic blasts, and even major polar vortex events in the United States and other areas in the mid-latitudes. But the interesting thing, and the thing that we really, really need to watch for here, is that this is the earliest I can ever recall seeing what we call a sudden stratospheric warming event, which is essentially just the disruption of that polar vortex by the warmer air. This is usually happening in late December or January or February. Really, really rare for this to happen in late November. I don't remember that ever happening in late November. That is extremely early, and I'm very curious to see what this results in. Wintry weather in late November to early December, very wintry weather, is going to be a possibility, something that we need to watch for. And it's been very many years since we've seen an early start to the winter like that, maybe never really. So we're going to be watching closely for a highly interesting situation. The jet stream stays flat over the northern states and the storms follow. We do see a little bit of an atmospheric river with a lot of this precipitation being sent in through Mexico and then eventually straight into a lot of the deeper south of the United States here. So a lot of our moisture is going to be coming from this area as well. Again, could cause some spark up thunderstorm events as we head later on next week. This is a little bit far out, so we're just going to continue to monitor it. I mean, for Sunday on the 23rd, the next day, we see a lot more of this explosive thunderstorm and shower development down there, so it wouldn't surprise me one bit. And kind of as we see the Arctic air move in, we're going to get that polar jet here, the southern jet here, bringing a lot of that moisture. And what it does from there, you know, is it going to head like this, or is it going to head almost directly northward? That's going to be really important because this is likely going to be what causes a snowfall event to occur if we do see one for late November into December. And we're getting some model suggestions that are pointing out this area. We talked about this yesterday, but the northern plains, Midwest, Great Lakes area is really the place to watch, I think, for late November. And, you know, as these two jets come together here and combine, we're going to get the cold air and a lot of precipitation, which is obviously your two main ingredients for snowstorms. Let's watch this kind of play out, and we get this major trough first off in the eastern United States for the 25th. Is what the models are suggesting right now. So we see a little bit more waviness to it. This isn't extreme, but this is definitely a major trough. Pretty significant, and will bring cooler temperatures into the eastern United States. As we take this a step further, we do see that moves out. We end up back with warmer temperatures in the east, cooler in the west here. Rocky Mountain snowfall occurring. So we get pretty much the very opposite here with this jet stream, with, again, major trough in the west, pretty major ridge in the east as well, as we're kind of dealing with this back and forth activity. And then as we just let this play out, we get these two jets to finally combine here right around the 29th as we have this northern jet roaring into the Rockies from the northwest. We also have this southern influence with this southern jet bringing a lot of the moisture, and this all kind of combines to create a pretty major system here. We already see major snowfall starting out for some of the Rockies into the central plains like Kansas and Nebraska. Again, this is for the 28th into the 29th now. And as we kind of navigate further into the 29th, we start to see a stronger low developing over the Midwest. Heavier snowfall for parts of the Midwest plains and Great Lakes here. And as we head overnight Saturday into the 29th into the 30th here, look at this low, 995, pretty major over Indiana. And as we're heading into the night hours, we're seeing Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, all seeing heavy snowfall here on this model run. And that eventually bombs out. This low just gets super intense here. 981 over Toronto, which is just a very strong low. We see a lot of Michigan snowfall, Indiana, the UP of Michigan here. I guess something interesting to think about here. You guys know I'm a big football fan, but I think Saturday the 29th is when Ohio State goes up to Michigan for the game. And this would put some snowfall perhaps occurring in Michigan on that date. That would be the craziest thing I've ever seen. I just wanted to point that out because I just thought of that. Absolutely crazy stuff there if that did occur. And this is the end of the model run, which does beg the question, this is very, very far out, so I have to point out, take it with a grain of salt. I know you guys make fun of me for saying that so much, but seriously, this is extremely far out, and the biggest takeaway isn't the specific details. I know I just got excited about that football game, but the specifics of where the snowfall would be happening, the exact timing, the exact intensity, are things that are subject to majorly change, maybe even completely, when we're looking at hours 360. However, the bigger takeaway here is that bigger picture overall pattern type stuff, like those two jet streams we were talking about kind of coming together at a certain point. That is takeaways we can get value from later on in the pattern, and we can see what would happen if it does combine here on screen, which is also a valuable takeaway. So these are all things we have to walk away from, looking at the trends, kind of knowing what the models are suggesting as far as a pattern. But again, the specific details are the things that could change. We could see the models do away with this snowstorm entirely, and they could place one, let's say, a few days later or a few days earlier that's completely different. But because that pattern was similar to what the models were calling for in the long range, it supports it at a different date, right? So the overall pattern is the bigger takeaway, not the timing, not the details. With all that said, let's take a look at the total precipitation, where the west still looks to get a lot of precipitation here. The east is overall improving daily with how much they're expecting, so I don't think there's going to be anywhere terribly, terribly dry around the United States. I don't know why we're all messed up today. We can't see the... Oh, here we go. This is the overall anomalies. We could see above average out west, above average for a lot of the central, and above average for most of the east. We have a little bit of dryness over the southeast and a little bit for the northeast coastline, but this is a fraction of an inch as far as the differentials from what's typical, so nothing majorly below average happening here. I did want to show the GFS model as well. We don't get the major snowstorm here, but around the 21st, we do get an interesting system, again, traveling in from this southern jet. We do also see the northern jet kind of pouring into that area. This is, again, another example that this pattern supports those two jets coming together and creating something interesting. The only problem is we don't end up with a major snowstorm. It doesn't match up perfectly, but the trend is still there. That would have potential. And as we go a little bit further here towards the 24th, 25th, which is a little bit closer to what we saw the European model as far as timing, we do end up seeing another kind of matchup, if you will, where the southern jet starts to move in, the northern jet is around the area, but the northern jet is the dominant one in this instance, and we get a more minor snowstorm for the very far northern Midwest and Great Lakes. So again, it doesn't match up perfectly, but that's two examples of opportunities for something to come together there. We do actually end up getting snow showers on the back end of this for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as well, for later on in the pattern. And then we get a major trough in the east here, followed up by another resurgence of that major trough. And this is all due to a warmer pattern that this model starts to place in the west towards the end of November, early December timeframe, which would be a positive PNA and would really, really support strong cold air into the central and eastern states. Now, speaking of snowfall, here would be the total snowfall in the European model. And again, remember, the details aren't super critical, but we could be dealing with a major snowstorm if this all comes together, talking in terms of maybe upwards of a foot or more of snowfall in the bullseye if a perfect system came together like that from the southern jet matching up with that northern jet. It would cause major things to happen. We do see the mountainous west. You don't have to take this with as much of a grain of salt because they're seeing snow continuously. They end up with feet of snowfall over the next couple of weeks. We do end up with some mountainous northeast snowfall happening as well on a few occasions over the coming pattern. Now, the European model, let's look at the temperatures here. And overall, we're warmer than normal, cooler than normal in the east. We move back into something that's a little bit warmer than normal, and then cooler than normal again, warmer than normal, cooler than normal. We're just going back and forth. You kind of get the point. And then right here around the later portion of the pattern, 28th, 29th, 30th, we start to see that Arctic invasion from that polar vortex move in. This would align kind of perfectly with that major polar vortex event, again, happening in the Arctic Circle. We would expect the very tail end of November into December to be the beginning impacts from that. But I will say the first week or two of December would be the worst of it, and we're not even there yet. We see a major Arctic blast happening for Sunday the 30th. On this model, which is suggesting these models have this impacting us earlier rather than later in the grand scheme of things. Definitely some pretty big takeaways there. And believe it or not, the GFS model is actually going to have a little bit of an earlier impact from this one. So we see some major Arctic air moving in as soon as the 26th, 27th, and really taking over by the 28th, 29th, 30th. And we even see, as this one's kind of winding down, another one up here is on the way in as well to take over right after back-to-back. So really major stuff popping up on the end of these model runs, and it's all supported by the things happening around the globe. So we're going to be tracking this daily. Exciting times ahead, guys, with lots of action-packed weather happening, whether it's temperatures or snow systems or thunderstorms. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.